Hey, what's going from Skip Blast? And she was on the show last a few months ago, I think maybe back in April. And I was like, we need an update. So Shawna, welcome to the show today. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me back.
And there will be some folks in the live chat. I see we have a few people over there now. So let me know if you can hear me. It's always good to double check that. I think it's working. I heard myself. So that is good. We'll field some questions as the conversation goes on, but we're going to cover a few things today, including some of the details of the Facebook bonus program, of which I know nothing about. And Shawna, you have more experience. In fact, you were kicked out. And we'll also talk about niche sites, the August core update, and get an update on just what you're doing in general. So Shawna, it should be exciting. We usually go long, but we're going to try and keep it tight today. So for the people that don't know you, what do you do? What have you been working on the last couple of years, just to get a little bit of an intro?
Yeah, I spent more than a decade just building and flipping sites. Then we all know HCU happened, so I haven't obviously been doing any of that. I had some sites that survived, so I'm still earning from my portfolio, but I've got my hands on a lot of cookie jars right now. So.
Okay. And just as a quick little update, you had something like 70 sites running all at once, but there were only maybe 20% or so that you were really focusing on. And HCU was, I'll say, somewhat devastating, which is a weird way to describe it. But can you talk about that a little bit, and then give people an idea of like where it was, what happened, and then where we are right now? Because I don't even know that. I wanted to save it so you could tell me live here.
Yeah. So I had over 100 sites before HCU. Most of them were just me testing, random stuff. Then I got caught up in the people who were personally targeted by Google. So I had 19 of my sites manually de-indexed for pure spam. Some of those were sites that were like almost 10 years old, so they had no AI content. There was obviously no spam issues. Some of those were sites where I only had a blank WordPress install. They basically just went through one of my Search Console accounts and cleaned out everything. But they didn't get everything, obviously, because I'm kind of lazy and I didn't have all of my sites in the same account. So I would say, for me, what has changed about my portfolio in terms of what it was before versus now is, at the time I had my biggest earning site was earning $6,000 a month just from display ads. That site survived the manual penalties. So it stayed indexed. It did drop some. It's only earning around $1,000 a month now. So I find that kind of drop is pretty average across my portfolio in terms of pre-HCU, post-HCU. I did have some sites that didn't get hit by HCU, though. They were smaller sites, though. Done a lot of testing since then. So if we want to talk about that, I can tell you what has worked for me, what has not worked. My portfolio obviously has changed quite a bit since then because I'm not doing quite the same things that I was doing prior to that.
Okay. We will get into some of the testing and what's working now and what's not working now as a more timely update. So the August core update rolled out tail end of August. I think it just finished up in the last week or something. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Were you super excited to see that roll out, and what happened with your stuff?
No, I really didn't care, because I know Google. I mean, they're clowns, right? They don't know what they're doing. I think that's obvious with one site specifically in my portfolio, which is I put a bunch of duplicate content on a domain, and there's Cadence Theme now has an AI starter template that you can use, and it spins up amazing WooCommerce websites, right? But it leaves all this lorem ipsum text on every page that it creates. So I just put a fuckload of content on it. When I started it, left all the lorem ipsum text. It's got the standard WooCommerce products that aren't even real products. This site just keeps soaring. It is so insane. It's a fake e-commerce site, duplicate content, everything loaded on the same day. It's got 200 posts on it. And I'm just having fun with it. I'm like, let's see what Google does this time. Are they going to find this site? Because I don't have, any Google products, like no Search Console, no analytics installed or anything like that. And it just keeps growing. So it's pretty ridiculous.
That is so ridiculous. So if we were, as a small thought experiment, so if someone were to maybe they knew a site, no one do this, by the way. No. Okay. So just to be clear, no one do this. So if they knew a site was doing really well for the last few years and the content was good, but they see that it dropped, like it got hit and got caught up in HCU and other updates. If they grabbed a bunch of the content, put it on an e-commerce site, and just did what you did, which sounds like you just set up a site, published all the content in one day. You set up hundreds of sites, right? So it probably took you like half a day or something. It could potentially rank. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm calling them fake e-commerce sites because I just installed WooCommerce with like this basic like fake product templates that they put in to get you started, and I don't do anything else, and it just works.
Okay.
Now I've also tested real products like POD products, so you can connect WooCommerce to Printify or Printful, things like that. That works. I've also tested, Shopify has a $5 a month plan. I think they call it the starter plan. And it basically gives you a real Shopify store site, but it's like bare bones, like very minimalist theme. Like it doesn't look professional, so you wouldn't want to send people directly to that store. But they make it so that you can get an embed code to embed the product onto your website. So I used Cadence again, the AI starter template, spun up the e-commerce site, and I embedded the products on the homepage so that people could literally buy these products if they wanted to, which has happened on some of the sites I've done this too. Sales through. Still ranking, getting pushed through the core update. AI content, doesn't matter.
And it's so funny. It's so ridiculous. So
yeah, right.
if, so you have the e-commerce fake products or whatever, and then there's like a blog section where you like republish the duplicate content or whatever of your own site. So you're not plagiarizing other, you're doing your own content, doing your own testing. Okay. Very interesting. And if again, hypothetically, if one did this and then had, this is an interesting YouTube channel, right? Where you're just like, let's see what dumb shit we could do and see if it works or not. I know like Kyle Roof does SEO experiments and actually does like tests and has some scientific methods that he uses, and that's over at Internet Marketing Gold, IMG, and he shares stuff. But I haven't looked through the full catalog of like 160 tests that they've done, but this is like a super interesting one where it's just like, this is really dumb, and it shows like how poor the search engine at Google runs these days. Okay, so moving on from there. Quick summary. So yeah, had 100 sites, 19 were manually penalized and they were de-indexed. You had some sites that were earning a good amount of money, but they dropped from like 6,000 to 1,000. So that percentage seems to hold true for sites that were earning. Any other details around the portfolio?
I've also tested, what if I make a site that looks like it's a service? So like a mechanic service, a home cleaning service. Can I have a site that gets classified as a service-based business with a blog with a bunch of content? Will that rank? I'm not seeing as good of results with that as I am with e-commerce. I've also decided to test, like, what if I have a digital product store? Let's say I'm a CPA and I'm selling digital products on budgeting, but I also have a blog. I didn't pick personal finance to test this with because it would have been too competitive, but that's just an example. So that's not working as well either. It really seems to me in all of the testing I've been doing since earlier this year, if you can get classified as an e-commerce, even if you're not an e-commerce, then you get the pass with ranking. Otherwise, it's much more difficult.
Back in the day, it seemed like there was a sandbox. So it would take 6 months or 12 months or a little bit longer for an average content site to
Mm-hmm.
rank really well. It would rank a little bit. Some longer tail keywords would rank, but for things to really ramp up, it took some time. With the
Yeah.
e-commerce, does it seem like there's the same kind of sandbox? If so, what have you observed?
No, I haven't seen that at all. Basically, I've tested this buying brand new, never registered domains. I'm also tested this buying like expired domains from expireddomains.net. So it's basically the same cost as registering a brand new domain. I haven't tested it with expensive age domains because I feel like in this current climate, the risk in terms of spending thousands of dollars on an age domain like that is just not really worth the return right now, because don't know that it would work as well. And I feel like if I can do it with a fresh domain or one that has, good DR, but it's been expired, then you can probably do it with a proper age domain as well. So I've tested it with that. There's really no difference in terms of a quote unquote sandbox if you look like an e-commerce in terms of brand new domain or an expired domain that has some authority. And when I say some, I mean even just like DR4, I'm seeing good results with.
Okay, so if you just have like a couple links coming in, and maybe you have
Mhm.
like some social profiles and like some normal stuff that you might do.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Very basic stuff. Do you have any
Mhm.
theories why the e-commerce sites are working well? Paula asked in the chat about maybe there's like more traffic for e-commerce in general, which I don't
Mhm.
necessarily think to be true. But
Yeah.
do you have any theories, Shawna?
Yeah, I have no idea why. Like, I could see maybe Google thinking, well, this person may spend money with us for ads for their products. Like, otherwise, I have no idea why. Because it seems like it's just, forums, even like old ass forums, from like the early 2000s, e commerce and high authority sites like Forbes and stuff.
Okay. Have you dabbled with Parasite SEO or Parasite, like anything?
No, I mean, that's another one of those things for me right now. And like, I've never actually done that either. Like, why should I pay somebody potentially thousands of dollars? I know you can get some pretty cheap, but like the really good ones, you're spending thousands of dollars for them. You don't control it in any way. And yeah, you have the potential to make a lot of money in a short amount of time, but you also have no control. You don't know when they're going to take it down or anything like that. So I've not really been interested in that.
Okay. I haven't either. And, through our conversations and some of the live streams and other shows that I do, people know I've kind of moved away from the grind of SEO and affiliate marketing. So I have like a couple sites that slowly died, but I really wasn't paying attention as of maybe a couple years ago. The effectiveness like
Mhm.
really, really went down when I had a good writer going through editing content and cleaning things
Right.
up and like improving it and all the stuff we're supposed to do. Like zero ROI over 6 months and whatever, lost thousands of dollars by doing that. So it was like, okay, time to take a pause. And by then, AI stuff was ramping up. AI content production was ramping up a lot. So I
Mhm.
decided to just chill for a little bit. So I didn't want to spend time like building on someone else's platform
Yeah.
where things could change again, totally out of my control. And like in some of the scenarios, people do have success with Parasite SEO, but I'm in a stage where I'm like, I don't want to do like those things where I'm
Mhm.
building sandcastles like right by the shoreline there. So I'm doing different things instead. That said, I have been intrigued recently with a huge amount of traffic going to Reddit these days.
Mm.
And so you haven't been doing specifically Parasite SEO. Have you done anything to use Reddit and recognizing the amount of traffic and the partnership that's happening with Google?
Yeah,
Anything there?
I've actually used Reddit for years because if you have an aged account, if you can find any subreddits where it seems like they've been abandoned by whoever the moderator is, ideally there's only one moderator because that makes this a lot easier. Then you just go and request it, and if that person hasn't been on Reddit for I think it's 30 days, they just give you the subreddit. So you can get aged subreddits that you control yourself. And so if you control the subreddit, it's a lot easier for you to drop affiliate links if you want, any links you want back to your own stuff. You're not having to worry about people like moderating it because you are the moderator. And then you can keep everyone else out who's trying to drop links. Like, it's
Right.
great.
So you have some subreddits where, and just to rephrase it or restate it so I make sure I understand. So there's subreddits that are inactive. The moderator, the creator of that subreddit is doing something else. They don't care. They're not paying attention. It's an abandoned area. And then you could pop in and just say like, hey, I want to take this over.
Yeah, like there's a dedicated subreddit for asking to take over abandoned subreddits.
Okay.
So that's like my favorite strategy because you're already getting an aged subreddit, but you can also create your own subreddits. I do that as well. So,
which is like, as I was learning about this a little bit more in the last couple months, I was like, you could create your own subreddit and then, you know, it's not aged, but you know, you hold the keys. And can you talk about that process? So when you start one, you know, one of the issues with, I know Reddit's not specifically a forum, but you have the issue of having people actually go there and share their ideas and have the community aspect. But luckily, you know, similar to Amazon, people are buying. At Reddit, people are conversing. So if there's people that want to talk about it, they'll go there. So can you give us an example? You could use some liberties here to not reveal anything, but if someone wanted to start their own subreddit and try to get it populated, what would they do?
You have to have an aged account. I think you have to have a certain amount of karma. I feel like that's the only requirement, but I don't know what it is because I've had my account forever. And then you just start it. You can keyword optimize, you know, the actual name of the subreddit. With Reddit, as old as it is, though, you're probably not going to get exactly what you want. So you have to play around with it a little bit. And then you get complete control over the actual design of how the subreddit looks, the links in the sidebar, which is super valuable for affiliate links that you want to go out. And then I find the quickest way to get traction with your own subreddit that you create is if you have friends who are on Reddit who could do fake conversations with you, or just grow your own side accounts and then you just interact with yourself. If there is a subreddit that's on a similar topic, go find what the hot topics are, recreate those in your subreddit. It'll also get elevated by, you know, Reddit naturally, and that will help you get actual people other than, you know, yourself 300 times or your friends. So,
okay. Very interesting. Yeah. And it seems like things could always change, but with Google pushing as much traffic to Reddit and then Reddit just having its own, you know, critical mass, it seems like a good spot to lay down some foundation, even though it is on someone else's playground there, but at least you have a huge amount of control if you're the moderator there.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else with Reddit that you've noticed? Pros and cons?
If you're going to post in subreddits that you don't control, you have to kind of be sneaky because the moderators will try to, you know, kick you out. So what I find to be most effective is to do a comment or start a thread that gets a lot of upvotes, then come back in a week or two later, edit it, and then drop your link. That will keep you under the radar.
People don't pay attention as much if it's a couple days old, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Quick note. I have been working with Linkify. Do you know Chris over there at Linkify? Have you run across him?
I've not interacted with him, no.
All right. Well, he's a good dude. I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and you can save 10% with discount code Doug. And they're running a campaign, so they do digital PR. And the last time they did a campaign with me, they got me like a NASDAQ.com link, Yahoo Finance, and some other awesome one. I can't remember, but I was like, hey, let's do it again. Let's see what we could do, because they used to work through Haro, but Haro rebranded to Connectively.
Yep.
Connectively. Yeah. Rolls off the tongue. Easy for me to remember and pronounce. Have you done much work? Have you done much work on the new platform?
Yeah, I don't really like it. But I mean, I like that it still exists. So
yeah. It sounds like they set up enough barriers so marketers can't abuse it as much, and it might be more effective, or at least it cuts down on a huge amount of the automated AI spam that was infiltrating. I have gotten emails from some people that created systems where basically they get the pitches and then they were hammering Haro. So like something had to be done. So now they charge a little bit for each one of the
The
replies that
pitches,
you
yeah.
send. Yeah. I think you get maybe 5 free. But anyway, you could check out Linkify over there, and in a couple, hopefully in a week or 2, maybe a little bit longer, I'll be able to give an update and let people know the links that I've gotten over there. I also want to plug your stuff, Shawna. So you blog over at Skip Blast. You have a YouTube channel as well. You have Growth Cupid, and I think we still have a coupon code, also Doug, for 10% off. And how often do you blog over there at Skip Blast?
Maybe once a month. I've actually been doing more quote unquote blogging on my newsletter for Skip Blast. I've gotten to where I send it out almost daily now, just talking about everything from that Ecamm site with the lorem ipsum text to random weird side hustles that people have wanted me to try. I also, that newsletter is on Beehive, and I give away actually the ad money every month to one person who has clicked on the advertiser links. So that's something, if people are not on my email list, it's you can go to skipblast.com/email to get taken to the sign up. So.
Awesome. And there are some links down in the description so you could check it out, but be sure to go to the email to sign up. And have you been doing much on YouTube recently? I haven't, again,
I think last week I started getting back into it.
Okay, cool. What do you do over there? What would people expect?
I've done, the new videos are how much I made the first month from Beehive, how to, basically my Pinterest strategy, how to find things that are going to rank quickly and get you a lot of traffic, and Facebook ads.
All right. Great transition. You're a pro.
Excuse me, sorry.
So one of the things that you have tested as far as side hustles is the Facebook bonus program. So for the people that aren't familiar, what is that?
So they used to have a traffic requirement, but I don't think there's any traffic requirement now, maybe like a few thousand likes. I said traffic, but I meant likes, a few thousand likes. And basically posts that you have that get good engagement on the page, they'll pay you for. There's a lot of, I'll say requirements, but they're not very transparent on what you need. In my experience, though, it needs to be something original. So you can't just copy other people's stuff. Images do really well. You can also do like status update posts, but those are good for engagement, but they don't pay you as much. So something to keep in mind.
Okay. And did you have it for like specific like niches that you were in?
Yeah, I've only actually used it with a site that I have that is a gardening site that I made a page for. So that was the one that I got monetized by the program and was really focusing on. I started that page, I think, in March, and it got monetized in May or June.
Okay. With the bonus program, do you apply to get in there, or?
No, you can't. It just kind of comes to you.
Okay, so they send you some notification like, "Hey, you're eligible. You're now in here," and then is there much setup, or is there any?
Yeah, you have to like enter in all your payment information and stuff like that, because they do have like a country restriction. Like it's most countries, like in Europe and the US, Canada. I think Australia's in it too. I don't know though about like Asia or South America, if those countries are in it.
Okay. And is the program fairly new? Because when you mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, I think I've heard of this, but I didn't pay attention.
They actually started it last year, I believe, like early in the year.
Okay, so it's been 18 months plus. All right. What kind of money did you earn?
Oh yeah, I did terrible with it. I think the most I ever made was like $3 a month. And there's people who are making like tens of thousands a month. It's all really dependent on your niche and how much engagement you can actually get. Anybody who wants to try it, I would recommend recipes. That gets a lot of engagement, a lot of money in that.
Interesting. And well, it's kind of funny too, just because things go in phases, right? So Facebook was like, hey, build up your page, get likes. And then, I mean, this is a long time ago. So it was like 2014. And then people like, basically they were getting whatever millions of eyes on everything they posted. And then all of a sudden it was like, you can't get in touch with hardly anybody Even if they're following you and they've interacted, it was like they throttled that down, and Facebook started forcing you to run ads to get in touch with your audience. So it's interesting how the things cycle up and down. And now it's like, oh, we'll pay you directly if you have like stuff that will provide you with interaction along with the audience. So how'd you get kicked out? Oh, go ahead.
There's actually multiple parts of it too. So once you get your page monetized and you're earning from it, they offer you other options too. Like the first option that I got offered was any post you make in Facebook groups that get good engagement, you can earn on. The catch for me there was I don't want to be going around in groups posting as my garden website. So I didn't really do any of that. And then it was a while after that, they offered me images. If I uploaded original images, I got good engagement. Then you got even more money. And then once you're actually earning way more than I ever earned, they will offer you bonuses based on if you hit X amount in bonus program earnings, then you get X amount bonus. It's usually a few $100s. It's usually like it's based on how much you've been earning, and so but it'll be a few $100s extra usually.
Okay. So. And you said there are people that are earning tens of thousands per month, and they must have the large Facebook groups and everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, for sure.
In your research and or hearing from other people, what are some of the characteristics of a successful, someone being successful in the program?
I find that it is update consistency. So you're regularly posting updates. The more like not every page and niche can handle one an hour, but if you can set it up with like Post Planner, for one post an hour, that's going to maximize your results. For me, what I got a lot of traction out of were the status updates where you have like the colored background. I don't know what that's called in Facebook, but that does pretty well. Images like memes, but you can't just like take a popular meme and use it because that's not considered quote unquote original, right? So you have to like take a popular meme and then like go to Midjourney and be like, kind of recreate this meme for me. That's what I found works best. AI images are great for two reasons. One, people click on them like crazy. Two, you got these like hall monitors on Facebook who want to warn everybody this is an AI image without realizing by commenting repeatedly, they're only helping you make more money because it's engagement. Yeah. So I really like using AI images. Now there's a ton of recipe pages that are doing really well. And if you look at any of them, it's all AI images. So I mean, you can just look at the pages that are posting frequently, have tons of, likes. And then if you look and they're still running ads, that tells you that they're onto something, which means do whatever they're doing and you'll probably see the same success.
Do you like that business model? I mean, you got kicked out, you said, right?
Yeah, I think I can probably get back in, but the whole reason I got kicked out was because I just didn't want to deal with it because I hate Facebook, which I think you do as well.
Amen, yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't want to fucking deal with this. I'm going to find somebody who either wants to buy this page from me or who will just do it for me without me having to pay them, like a JV situation. And what I actually ended up doing was Adam from Niche Website Builders. I'm his Facebook friend, and I saw him asking if anybody wanted to sell a page that was monetized with the program. And I was like, oh, here's my exit, right? So I talked with him about it, and then he was like, this doesn't really fit my requirements for buying, but do you want a JV and I'll do all the work, and then you just split the payment with me when it comes? And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. So we didn't even make it a month before he got the page kicked out of the program. And honestly, I'm not really surprised because I wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. So I got the notification that I'd gotten kicked out of the program. I wasn't going to get any of the money, which it wasn't a lot of money, but no money earned. Every post had the same status update that said, why don't post like this trend? And then he had spaced down so that the next bit of text you had to click more to see. And it was 20 random ass hashtags, which I guess were trending on Facebook. I don't know. And every post was like that. They had different images, but he was also taking images from other people's pages. So I assume, Facebook doesn't tell you what you did wrong. I assume it was a combination of things. So other people's images, so not original. every update having the exact same thing, and then the spammy ass list of hashtags that you couldn't see unless you clicked more. So if anyone is looking to JV with anyone or hiring anyone to do their page, pay attention to what they're posting or you'll get kicked out of the bonus program.
Oh, that's a bummer. And I was going to
Yeah.
say, it sounds like automation got out of hand, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he didn't realize that it was just posting the same thing.
I don't know if it was intentional or not, because I see now he's trying to sell a service of managing your Facebook page. I assume I
This
was
is the worst ad ever. He's not going to advertise with me.
He seems like a nice guy, so I hate this. Like, I'm not trying to shit on him, but I wonder if I was like a testing ground for what he could do for clients. Right. I don't know.
I don't know.
I haven't heard from him since it got kicked out. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, and as you were describing, I wanted to make sure you weren't like, hey, this is like, now this is my passion now. I want to fucking be in the program or whatever. Because when you describe it, and the thing is, so I've been, like you, I've been working online for many years. I had a corporate job. Working for myself fits my attitude best. However, the treadmill of creating content for a social platform is a treadmill, and
yes.
it is like, okay, here's some I guess constraints that we have to work with, and all you have to do, every step is kind of simple. And when I first started dabbling online, I did stuff like that. I was like, oh, okay, I just need to do these images, and I would follow the process and things would kind of work. And it was cool, right? Because you were like figuring out how to earn money on your own without the full, corporation having to work for a company or anything like that. But you run into the issue where it's like, okay, we're going to do this like 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And do it like day over day. And it's like, fuck, I don't want to spend my time doing that. Like, this is really boring. And you're like jumping through hoops that are arbitrarily created without actually knowing the full constraints. Because again, there's not the transparency. It's just like, here's some rough guidelines. It sounds like you got kicked out because like the content sucked and it wasn't, you lost control of the actual day-to-day of it. But when it comes down to it, it's like, hey, you can do the mid-journey stuff. You could use Canva. The tools are fantastic. AI makes it easier to come up with but at the end of the day, it's just like, do you want to create bullshit content for a platform that you don't even want to spend time on? And the answer for most of us should be like, absolutely not. You should figure out a better thing to do.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out and you're dabbling, like, totally cool. I respect it if people want to check it out. But at the end of the day, it's just like, unless you love the platform and you're actually creating good content, it sucks. Nobody wants to see your fake images of picture or of food. Right?
The thing about it too is, like I said, it started early last year, and I knew people who were doing it, which is how I knew about it last year. And they changed the Facebook algorithm for this program at least in like May. So people who were earning like a lot of money is who like really saw the impact of that. And people like across the board were saying, I'm down like 50% of what I was earning, right? And this is something that makes me so mad about this industry. Right after that happened, that's when all the courses started coming out on how to make money from the Facebook bonus program. So like when it stopped working as well, people were like, oh shit, I need money now that I have 50% less coming in. Let me make this course. And, I don't know. It makes me so mad.
Yeah. And that's a perfect intro. So Sean and I are working together to roll out a course on the Facebook bonus program. So no, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. That is just a joke. Just a joke. But that totally makes sense. And I see actually somebody commented on a video the other day for the Amazon influencer. And I think the broad strokes were like right, but also a little bit wrong. And they're like, oh, when courses come out, that's when it becomes saturated. But it's like, newsflash, there've been courses and it's been saturated for a little bit already. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It doesn't mean it's not valid. It's just like, it's a little bit harder than it was. And I mean, that is the reality of like the make money online space. It's like some of the people have no fucking idea what they're doing. Some people are really experienced and you actually can learn a lot. It's really hard for a beginner to tell the difference between the two.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like when Carl Broadbent came out with his, what's it called? Amazon Influencer? Yeah, Amazon Influencer Program course. I feel like he probably came out right at the tail end of it starting to get where you couldn't make as much money as people used to in it. And that was like ages ago. And then like the new ones after that, I feel like are kind of taking advantage of people who don't know any better. I wrote about it in my newsletter. It was like a big controversy, but
Right. Well, and I think, yeah, because Carl's came out, I think like a year ago, if I remember right, somewhere around that. And then I actually promoted Jared Bauman's collaboration with Authority Hacker because I know them both, and Jared had like a year of experience with it, and they weren't painting it as a do this full time. It was like, here's a good side hustle, and here's like systems and processes after doing this for like 1 year. And like I said, because Authority Hacker has good courses and Jared had a year of experience, I felt comfortable promoting it. But at the same time, it's just like, it's more competitive. And now, potentially dozens more people are going to be getting into it. Because the other reality with courses is most people actually don't implement it. Like it's hard for people to take action. So, okay, cool. Well, let's go back to your portfolio and like what you're focusing on. And actually we could broaden it. So I got a couple emails and a couple folks in the chat while I was doing these live streams over the last few weeks. They're like, what is Shawna working on now? So you mentioned some side hustles that you're dabbling in. You are covering that in your newsletter, so people should check that out. But like, what are you currently working on? You mentioned Pinterest, you mentioned some other stuff, but what are sort of top of your list right now?
Yeah, I've always used Pinterest for my sites, and I'm still seeing great results for that, even in niches where you don't really think of it as Pinterest friendly, right? We had a Growth Cupid client not too long ago who had a site on everything related to your home garage. So not really Pinterest friendly. And I think after 6 months or so, he was seeing like 15,000 clicks back to his site from Pinterest, which for a niche that isn't really Pinterest friendly, I'm like, that's pretty good. And we ended up helping him make up for the amount of Google traffic he had lost when we started. So I'm still heavily into Pinterest. I like to basically do a bunch of pins at once and just schedule them to pin regularly. I'm not really obviously doing the Facebook bonus program right now. I'm still making new sites, but every new site that I make has a POD Ecamm to it, like a real one where you can actually buy the products. My wife, I'm actually with her. She's getting ready to launch a physical product e-commerce store that's on Shopify, I think is what she's using. It's like wedding gifts is going to be the niche that we're going to be targeting, and it's going to be personalized artwork. So I'm really excited about that. That was 100% her idea, but I'm just like doing the website stuff and the SEO stuff for her. Got Growth Cupid clients, actually a lot of them in Ecamm, as well as some local businesses. What else am I into? Oh, local newsletter. I started a local newsletter, I think the last week of April. So we've been growing that. We publish 5 days a week. I think we're in week 21 now. We have somewhere under 3,300 subscribers. I live in Vegas, which is too broad of a niche for a local newsletter, I feel like. So I have actually niched down to the area of Vegas that I live in, which has a little over 100,000 people. So we're still quite a ways from reaching, maximum subscriber growth here. We've been really focused on growth so far, so we haven't sold any ads yet. Just recently I had some conversations with people, so I think the ad money is about to start coming in for that. So far we've sunk in probably about 3,200 in getting leads for the local newsletter. And I think with premium subscriptions and a couple of Beehive ads, we've made about $400. So we're definitely in the negative with that. I really believe in the business model, though. I think it's a super strong business model, so I think we'll be profitable in no time. have an actual in-person meeting next week with someone locally as well. So it's like it's put me in a very different environment than I am used to, because I'm starting to make sales calls, to get ads in this newsletter. I'm meeting people in person, doing Zoom calls with them, talking to more clients with Growth Cupid, where before it was just mostly referrals in the niche site community, and now like real businesses, are finding me, things like that. And then I'm doing this random ass side hustles that people ask me to do. We're starting an AI music channel. I quote unquote wrote a book with ChatGPT in the horror niche that was actually not as easy as I expected, and that's going to be going live on Amazon soon. So I'll be talking about that in the newsletter as well.
Perfect for the Halloween season.
I know, right? That's why I picked it.
And let's talk about the local newsletter. So just having like a local site is, it's a classic model. And I was going to say, as I started working online, we had just moved to Bozeman, and we were following like whatever the Bozeman event calendar, which, looked like it was a site created in 2008. And that was 2015. And, they had some ads, and the calendar was up to date, and it was working. It's a small population, but like people go there to get the events. And there was a guy I interviewed a couple years ago now, Brooks Conkle. He had one in Mobile.
He's in Mobile, I think.
Yeah. So Mobile, and that's a decent sized city. They have a podcast, and they had the website, and it was running, and there's ads on there and all that stuff. So it definitely seems like almost any location. I'm sure there's some critical mass where like if you have 50,000, like, and I'm just making it up, but like a population of 50,000 is probably enough for a modest sized newsletter. But it all depends on like the affluency of the actual community. So, with 100,000 people in your, neighborhood, that seems like really promising. So what kind of companies are you thinking the ads will come from?
So this is the most affluent area of Vegas, which was why I also picked it, like you said. So I actually got into local newsletters because I found Ryan from the Naptown Scoop. So basically a lot of what I do is based on what he had been sharing late last year and early this year before I started. So the ideal advertisers are going to be local businesses that have a high lifetime value per client. So that's going to be things like real estate agents, probably like there's a lot of like spas here in this area of town. Things like that are kind of what I'm targeting. Anything that involves pet owners, I'm targeting because I figure that's a high lifetime value. So like local vets, animal hospitals. I've talked to a couple of like doggy daycares and dog boarding, things like that. But basically, it's anything that I think isn't a one-off. So I'm not really targeting like local restaurants for the most part, because I feel like they're not going to really get the kind of return on investment that I think these other types of businesses will get. So that's kind of the key.
Have you done much in-person networking at whatever the, local meetups? There's always coffee things. There's all sorts of networking for local entrepreneurs.
Well, when I started this newsletter at the end of April, I think that was probably the last 2 weeks that it was not at least 100 degrees in Vegas. So at the initial start there, I did go to a local farmer's market here where there's like more businesses than just like people selling, produce and stuff. And I had some good conversations then, but I actually haven't been to anything like that since, just because of the crazy temperatures here. And so we've just gotten under 100 degrees for the first time all summer. So I'll probably start going to more things like that. What I'd really like to do are other things too, like trades. So like I've been in contact with a woman who runs a lot of like craft shows and like special other little shows in the areas here. Like there's a thing called Music and Makers that she puts on. So there's like a lot of like local musicians, people who sell art, things like that there. So what I want to do is a trade with her. So, let my wife have a booth for her new Ecamm brand, and then we'll give you free advertising. So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to also start doing. And we've actually already gotten like a lot of free event tickets to cover it in the newsletter. So that's been pretty nice.
Do you think, so you said you had about 3,200 subscribers, or what'd you say? Okay.
Just under 3,300. Yeah.
Under 3,300. So it's about $1 per subscriber, if I remember right.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think you would have gotten the event tickets without having the subscribers? Like, are people familiar with the newsletter, or are they just like, oh, you're covering some stuff, you look professional, we see it's a real website, and they're like, here are some tickets so you could cover it?
The people who have reached out and given us the free stuff have actually signed up for our list first because they live in this area. And so then we get things saying, hey, I'm on your newsletter list. I've had it for a few weeks. I really love what you're doing. I work at X and X. It's been like PR companies mostly who've given us the free stuff. We represent, X casino, X art museum, blah, blah, blah. Would you guys mention us in the newsletter if we put you on the press pass list? So that's the way it's worked.
Got it. And then I think once you show up for a couple things and then they talk to each other, so they'll ask their friends, how'd you get in the newsletter? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very cool. So any other tips with the local newsletter or business model that you're looking at?
Yeah. Facebook groups that are local. So like say, but you were talking about Bozeman. So if you found like a Bozeman locals Facebook group that you could get into, free way to promote the newsletter. I get like a lot of really great signups every time I can mention it in a newsletter. Not a newsletter, in a group. What's really weird though in Vegas is all of the local groups are run by realtors. So it's a lot like the Reddit monitors where they will not let you post links like as your actual post. So I have to do a lot of replying to other people's posts. So when I am focused on getting leads that way, I have to spend a lot of time on Facebook, which I can't take for very long. So I only do that like twice a month, but it's a great way to get a lot of free leads. I also managed to take control of the abandoned subreddit for this area of town. So that's also bringing in some good leads.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like two horrible things, like dealing with realtors and Facebook at the same time.
Yeah.
Sorry to the realtors out there, but you guys are the worst. So, along with mortgage brokers and anyone involved in the process.
Car salesmen.
Yeah, it is awful. You guys will lie to our faces. So, sorry again to all the realtors. You guys are doing a great job for the people that need that service.
And if you're local, I like you if you want to advertise in my newsletter.
Yeah. Reach out to Shawna directly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very cool. I think like the interesting thing with shifting to a local model, and you actually are like a real local there, you're probably somewhat interested in whatever you're covering because they are local businesses, it's local events versus, the old content site model. A lot of people didn't care. They're like, oh, I found a good set of keywords. And then they just, worked on that, even though they didn't care or like it, maybe zero interest level at all. So I think it's a good route. And if if you've lived there your whole life, or you have a long history, or you have like special connections because through your network, you have special relationships, you maybe have like a really nice unfair advantage. So very cool.
Yeah, and you were talking about Brooks Conkle. He does a lot of really cool stuff in Mobile where he does events. And one of the events that he did locally was a silent disco party with the headphones and stuff.
Right.
And it brought in so much interest. He went out and he bought his own stock of those. And now he has a secondary business that he uses his local newsletter to promote. And so there's still many opportunities. And actually the guy who does Naptown Scoop, he also launched another local business from that. And then you can advertise that in your newsletter. And it's a win-win.
Interesting. Yeah, very cool. Someone mentions in the chat, Peak 195 says you have 48 productive hours per day. You do a lot of stuff.
I drink a lot of coffee.
What time do you stop drinking coffee?
So here's the thing.
You don't ever stop.
No. Sometimes I will stop drinking coffee at 3:00 because I'll switch to alcohol, right? I'll switch to wine or hard cider, bourbon and Coke, something, right? But yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I like the caffeine. I have been doing more decaf, and in fact, I'll do like 75% decaf, and because I do like coffee. But I also got into these like zero sugar Monster energy drinks. This is not sponsored, and they're pretty good. My friend told me about them. They don't give you the same jitters like if I drink a ton of coffee, like that hits pretty hard. They put a lot of chemicals in here, but they put other chemicals in here that I think temper the caffeine. And there's only 140 grams of 140 milligrams of caffeine, so it's like a cup of coffee, really. So
Probably a lot of sugar, though, right?
well, it's zero sugar, all artificial.
Interesting.
There's nothing real in this. It's all artificial. So
I'll stick with coffee.
yeah, coffee is good. Coffee's good. Okay. Yeah. Very good. So, and any other cool side hustles that you're into? You mentioned several, but what do you think is maybe one or two, the ones that do have traction? So, local newsletter sounds like a very promising route. For sure. You're hitting, a growth period right now. What's like the next one or two of them?
I've always dabbled in KDP, so doing the ebooks for Amazon and the print books. Like, I have books that I did like 15 years ago that I'm still earning money from each month. So I think if somebody really wants to commit to creating those books, and I'm not talking about like the low content shit, like don't do journals or crossword books. Like, even if you're doing it with ChatGPT, which I honestly don't recommend, you can make a lot of money doing this. The one thing though with doing that is I always recommend that people go wide. So don't stay exclusive to Amazon, because Amazon is always a terrible partner and they screw authors over just like they do everyone else that they work with. So what I do whenever I have new things that I release on Amazon is I do the first 90 days as exclusive with Amazon, which gives you the ability to run, I think it's 5 free days for promos. You also can make your stuff go into, the KU program, Kindle Unlimited, so that people who have that membership can download it. And that's actually really valuable because a download, even if no one reads it in KU, counts towards your sales rank, and that can get you higher on the bestsellers chart. But after that 90 days, definitely go wide, get your books, on Apple, Barnes & Noble, everywhere else, because there's always the possibility that Amazon's going to fuck you, and you don't want to be left with no money coming in from your books. And in most niches, you actually earn a lot better royalties and do more sales on the other platforms. But everyone knows Amazon and goes to Amazon, so you have to stay on Amazon as well.
Okay. And how much are you earning from your books that are out there?
It varies based on time of year, but I would say the average is about $500. And I've never really taken it seriously. And so people who, if that's all they do, you can make like tens of thousands of dollars a month doing this. You're going to have to learn about things like running the Amazon ads, the keywords that you put in when you upload it to make sure you show up on the right bestsellers list. There's actually all kinds of tools for KDP that helps you find niches if you're not really passionate about any type of topic, that lets you know, like, here's where, people are hungry for books and there's not enough books. Right now that's hockey romance, which is kind of crazy.
Hockey romance, like the ice sport.
Yeah, exactly. It's really bizarre. But yeah, that's really hot right now. There's people earning 6 figures a month just off of hockey romance books, like a single book.
What the fuck does that even mean? Okay. Are you what are some other hot ones then?
Well, there's all kinds of like subgenres like that right now in romance that do well. Any type of sports romance is what I hear is doing really well. I think baseball is supposed to be the second most popular. I don't remember what's the third, maybe football, but yeah. But there's, like I said, there's tools where you can see an estimate of how much any book is earning. I talk about this in my newsletter because people really love to hear about KDP for some reason. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting. Have you dabbled at all with the audiobook side?
No, because this is where Amazon really fucks people. They're actually in the process of being sued because they used to run that thing where if you signed up for Audible, you got like 2 free downloads, right? And they would let those people return those books to keep that free download and never actually pay for any books because they would do this on the regular. And so the authors would get the money taken back from them when it was a return. So their book was going out and people were reading it. They were getting no money. And somehow some people got proof of that. And so there's a lawsuit about that going on.
Interesting. So you haven't done anything with Audible. Okay. So 500 per month is like pretty considerable. Like a lot of people are like,
that could be a car payment for people, right?
Yeah, exactly. How many books do you have out there?
6, I think. I'm in nonfiction, and I like that because one, I'm not a fucking fiction writer, so I have no interest in that. You can charge higher amounts for nonfiction books. It's also acceptable for nonfiction books to be lower in page count. So you can get up a lot. All you got to do is find a niche where you think you can bring in something that people are hungry for that's not being offered by a million people. The exception is recipes. If you can come up with a bunch of recipe books, I know people who are making like crazy money on just like one recipe book. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Interesting. And it's just like an underserved niche or something like that.
Yeah. And if people want to get started, today is the day to do it because Q4 sales for ebooks is insane. And that's in any niche. Because, my wife is a writer. She's a fiction writer.
Yeah.
Most of her income comes in Q4.
Interesting. We'll have to, because I have literally thought about just hitting pause on some things and just like, hey, I have like a few ideas for nonfiction books.
Right.
They're probably like overpopulated areas because if I had the idea and I'm not that original, there's probably a lot of them. But maybe they haven't gone after the bald white male.
Really?
That's a super underserved niche overall. But anyway, like so Q4 is hot, and I know like for a lot of people, like I actually really enjoy a book that is right about 100 pages for nonfiction because there's no BS in there. There's no redundancy. They get to the point, they finish the book, and that's it. So for nonfiction, what is the sweet spot of the length for your books?
I think my bestseller is only like 50 pages.
Wow. Okay.
But I got lucky with that one because, like I said, I've been doing this forever just on the side. I had the very first ebook on side hustles in the Kindle store. And so I got like a fuckload of reviews. So that's why it keeps selling. Reviews are actually a very important part of ranking. Also, I know I said start now, but one thing to keep in mind is that they call it falling off the cliff. Like your first 30 days in the Kindle store is like where you want to do the most work, getting reviews, driving up sales and everything. Otherwise, you'll, quote, fall off the cliff in terms of your sales rank after 30 days. That's actually why I haven't released my little stupid ChatGPT horror book yet, because I'm trying to time it just right for the people who are getting the books close to Halloween. So I need to really get my 30 days so that it covers that. So
interesting. The ChatGPT horror book. That's going to be good. Okay, cool. Any other tips for Kindle KDP stuff?
Don't neglect a good cover. These days it's going to be easy though with Midjourney. Like I fucking had to learn Photoshop and Illustrator back in the day, but because people charge a lot for covers, but you can totally do it yourself. My ChatGPT book, I made the cover in Midjourney.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, Midjourney or, other AI type tools make it much easier to get high quality. And then do you hop over to Canva to put the graphics on or like the text on there or anything like that? Or
I in Photoshop because I have Photoshop still, but if I didn't have Photoshop, I would use Canva.
Okay. Very good.
And you have to format everything a specific way for it to be compliant for Kindle, but Amazon gives you all the guidelines that you need to do that. There's also people on Fiverr who will do it for cheap.
With so I haven't done this before. So if I was like, hey, I'm going to write a book, I get it in the right format. Is it pretty easy to just go through whatever Amazon documentation they have, and then maybe I have to watch a video or two for anything that's kind of tricky? But is it pretty easy? If you set up a website, you could do this in the afternoon
it's just
or whatever.
tedious. It's tedious. That's all it is.
Okay.
But it's a pretty quick process.
And if you let's say I had a book ready to go with a cover, how long does it take to get listed in Kindle and all that?
That's going to depend on what time of year it is, because everyone is now going to be trying to capitalize for Q4. So as we get closer to the probably Black Friday, it's going to be a longer wait time. I think the standard is like 24 to 48 hours, but I've seen in Q4 it be as long as a couple of weeks. Okay. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind if you're trying to time when you're going to release something. Now you can also set things for pre-order. So you can upload it in advance and say that it's not going to be like available until X date, but you're taking pre-orders, and that will help you get around the long wait time around the holidays. That's for the procrastinators who are listening.
Right. Okay. Very cool. Well, we are hitting an hour and we've covered a ton of stuff. Shawna, thank you for joining me today. We have all your links in the description. And if people want to find you, they could head over to Skip Blast and sign up for the newsletter. That's probably the best way to connect, right?
Yep. I'm also on Twitter, X, whatever. Yeah.
All right. How is it over there on X? Is it fun these days or what?
Pretty much every day I think about leaving. So, yeah.
Okay, great. That makes sense to me.
Some dipshit called me a gatekeeper a few weeks ago, and I was like, who the fuck are you with your fucking cartoon avatar? But yeah.
A gatekeeper of what?
Information.
I don't know. Well, he should just sign up for the email list. It sounds like you talk about all this stuff there. So everyone can go sign up for the email list. Anything else before we wrap it up?
I'm also doing cold email. I'll talk about that in my newsletter. That's a new side venture also.
What are you trying to get? What are you selling? What are you doing?
Just Growth Cupid. Someone told me this to try it, and I've actually already gotten 2 good leads from it, and I can't believe people are actually clicking on that and responding to people. But hey,
I can't either. So you're like, hey, I have a marketing company. It can help you in these things.
Well, here's the funny thing. I did this for a service I don't even offer yet. I was just trying to gauge interest, and now I have 2 people as of yesterday wanting more information. I was like, shit, I don't even have this typed up anywhere. So that's what I'm doing this afternoon.
Just figuring out like what the service is, what the offer is.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Cold emails. Well, I'm the worst person to get them since I'm a marketer. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a horrible pitch. But if it's the right pitch, then I guess I would want to get that. So very good.
But if anyone listening has some side hustles they want me to try that aren't like a lot of capital up front, join my newsletter, send me an email through there, let me know, and I'll probably try it.
Very cool. Well, thanks a lot to Shawna. Check out Skip Blast, and thanks to Linkify. You can save 10% with the coupon code Doug. And I think we still have the growth. It's still active, right? That discount code Doug.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Growth Cupid, you can save 10% as well, depending on the services you need. You could check that out. And I think that's it for today. So thanks a lot, everybody. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, had a good time.